Welcome everyone to the HR360 Virtual Summit. I am delighted to be joined today by Steve Cottle, who is the Vice President, Business Development, EMEA region at Optum International. Steve will share with us the top trends for optimizing health and well-being in a disruptive environment. Specifically, Steve will share the key themes from the Optum 2020 International Wellness in the Workplace Benchmark Study. It's a pleasure to welcome you, Steve, to the HR360 Virtual Summit. Over to you now to kickstart your presentation.
Thank you, Lauren, and welcome everyone. Pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you once again. And as Lauren said, today I want to talk about Optum's 2020 International Wellness in the Workplace Study. This session today will be around 20 minutes. And really is an executive summary, a teaser, dare I say, to a wider, more detailed look at our study in conjunction with Jane Carrington on the 9th of November. For those of you who don't know me, I've been in the global wellness, physical and mental health space for over 15 years. I've worked and spoken on every continent around the world. And hopefully over the course of today, the 9th of November, and future interactions with you all, I can bring that experience to bear and to help you with your organisations. Let me just briefly, first of all, tell you a little bit about Optum, for those of you not familiar with us. Optum is a health services and innovation company. We're part of the United Health Group, which is the world's largest insurance company, currently ranked 7th on the Fortune 500 in the US. Our mission is really about helping people live their lives better and helping make the most of the healthcare systems wherever they are in the world, making them better for everybody. And our values really underpin everything that we do. Our values are integrity, compassion, relationships, innovation, and performance. And everything that we do are always linked to those. And again, hopefully through today's brief session, you will see those come through. So let's first of all set the scene a little bit. So the purpose of the International Wellness in the Workplace Study is really to understand multinational organisations' approach to health and wellness. This is its 4th year. So we're able to now start to show trends, not just looking at what's happening in this year in isolation. We break it down and split it regionally. So again, we're able to give you that context from APAC, EMEA, and a LATAM perspective. So really making it relevant to you and where you are. And we also look at it from a variation in size of multinational organisation. And again, having that clear understanding of your peers and where you are really helps to take the data that we share into your workplaces and to make a difference. So the study this year was conducted in April and May, right in the middle of the global pandemic. We have 350 companies participating, and to participate, each had to have at least 2 well-being products or services within their organisations. As I mentioned earlier, it's our 4th year now, and we're looking at organisations with 3,000 employees and above, and we've split those to again sort of give you some benchmarking context to large employers, so 3,000 to 10,000, extra large, so those from 10,000 to 50,000, and then what we're terming as jumbo for everything over 50,000. And as I mentioned earlier, we split it across the 3 regions. And again, the participation from each region, again, can help to give a true sense of the wealth of the data that we capture during the study. 29% of our respondents are in APAC, 26% are in LATAM, and 44% in EMEA. Of that for EMEA, 19% of those are from the UK, 9% from United Arab Emirates, and then the rest is made up from other European countries. And the respondent profile, again, organisations with over 3,000 employees located in one of those geographies. Function is in human resources, executive management or administration role. So again, people like you, and those that are involved in decision making for health benefits within the organisation. So we truly are getting the response and the information right from those who are responsible for procuring, implementing, and managing these programs. As you can see on the left-hand side, we have a sort of a more detailed breakdown of who. So the study itself looks at 7 key areas. So culture of health, strategy, incentives, employee engagement, programs, work environment, and program success. Now, as I said, this is a tester session today, so we're going to look at some of that at a high level information, but please do join Jane and I on the 9th of November to really get into the depths of the study and the results. Let's have a look at the landscape. So before we get into the findings, really want to just sort of set the scene a little bit more. So workplace wellness during a global disruption. I think we all know 2020 has been the most challenging year, probably for most of us in our work career, certainly the most since the Second World War, in terms of what organisations have faced from an economic perspective. And this study was done during that period. And of course, during that period, different parts of the world were at different stages. So, during March and April, APAC were probably coming out of the worst of it, starting to reopen. Whereas you look at EMEA, we were very much in lockdown at that point. Whereas LATAM actually was still taking a watching brief at that point, and it was a few months later before the true impact really started to take hold there. So we've got a little bit of a blend, a bit of a mix when we look at where organisations were at that point. But 66% of companies had closed offices. 88% of companies were asking employees to work from home wherever possible. And 69% of people expected that the outbreak would last less than 3 months. And here we are now in October, almost into November, and no sign of the end of the pandemic. Certainly for the foreseeable future, we will all be working and living with some restrictions to how things are. So it was very interesting that when we did the study, people really were expecting this to be a short-term disruption rather than a long-term disruption. It's interesting when you look at the 3-month window that people thought this was going to be, and how the new norm has changed over that period, and certainly over the last 6 months. Our new norms change here in the UK. Of course, we have a three-stage process now, where we have regions of the country moving from sort of not a lot of restriction to a lot of restriction, rather than doing a full country breakdown. And of course, the different countries around the UK, in terms of Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland, also have their own differences to England. So even just within one country, without even looking at it from a regional perspective, the differences are very marked, and ones that I think we will continue to see for some time to come. So I'm going to look at 5 of the key themes today. And again, I'm not going to go into the great detail. Please do join us on the 9th of November to really get into that depth. But I think this for me is really where on the 9th we will really go into some of the detail, because the importance of creating that health culture hasn't changed, and the desire for organisations to have one hasn't changed. Yet there's been little progress towards establishing one, and we can see that both in terms of the benchmarking, the numbers over the last 3 years, and we also see that in terms of where organisations are around the world. And we then see that based on the size. So pretty much everybody's agreeing it's extremely important to have a culture of health and wellness within your organisations. Yet establishing one remains extremely hard. We have to make it part of our values. We have to make it part of our strategy. And that's where sometimes I believe the challenge comes. And we've yet to see that real shift in the last 3 years that perhaps we were all expecting to see. And when we look at where organisations have adjusted their wellbeing strategy over the course of COVID, no great surprise, 5 and 6 organisations made some changes. And we added specifically some COVID questions to this year's study to tease this information out. APAC led the way. No great surprise necessarily for 2 reasons. Firstly, they were, of course, right at the epicentre of the pandemic. And by the time that we were conducting the study, we had seen APAC starting to come out the other end. So the fact that they had made the most changes doesn't surprise me. And equally, when we look at a number of health services, they are less prevalent, or were less prevalent in APAC historically than in other parts of the world. So to see them make those changes is great to see, and it's not an unexpected statistic. Also, looking at how people started to deliver services changed dramatically. And again, the most common change is everything moved to virtual. Be that counselling through EAP, be that telemedicine, be that fitness classes, all the way through to providing home ergonomic support. Again, those of you who saw my session in the summer, the one overarching image I'm left with is people using their ironing board as a desk. People living in studio apartments with little or no space. So that ergonomic support really important. But virtual was the way everybody went, and we're continuing to see that now. And that trend, I'm sure, will be with us for some while. And it will be interesting when we do come through COVID in terms of the play between virtual and actual physical face-to-face, and where that has changed. Virtual's been an area of growth for a while. COVID clearly has brought that forward greatly. Employee assistance programs, of course, played a very critical role during the disruption. Last year, they were ranked as the 4th most popular program that organisations were putting in place. No surprise this year it's up to 2nd. It'll be interesting when we look at next year's numbers to see whether indeed it then rises to the top. And as you can see there, the other most popular benefits: health risk assessments, wellness coaching, health and wellbeing portal sites generally, and healthy pregnancy. And where organisations already have offered employee assistance programs, we can see this year there has been a marked growth, over 10% increase on last year. And as we can see, for where employee assistance programs are offered, they're a 10% increase on last year. And an even more interesting trend across offering counsellors on site in organisations continues to increase, particularly in APAC and particularly for the jumbo sector that we looked at here. So again, organisations having those employee assistance programs, particularly those with a global consistent approach, but with that local individual care for employees, continue to see the growth and success. Organisations too, I've taken both a short and long-term approach to their plans. Interesting that we bring in the word short-term here. You know, organisations typically look at things over a 3 or 5 year period when it comes to employee wellness. Of course, COVID threw that completely out the window, and overnight organisations have to be agile and nimble enough to pivot to provide that same level of care and support when employees have been asked to work from home. And now, as we see organisations start to bring employees back into the workplace, whilst within governmental support asking some employees still not to be back in the workplace, so having that constant switch between in and out, that shorter term annual plan has really started to step in. Many organisations, of course, have both, and again, we will continue to see that trend over the course of the rest of the pandemic, and if not beyond. And again, you can see APAC once again playing a significant role, but pretty much across the board here, we are seeing organisations really ensure that they have robust plans in place to support employees. One area we're really going to look into more detail on the 9th of November is around the confidence in leadership support for health and wellbeing programs. There has been a decline. So we really want to delve into that more on the 9th. You know, big 16% drop since 2018. So we really want to have a look at some of the reasons behind that in more depth. But as you can see here, we have some reasons for people increasing their spend, and we also have some reasons for people decreasing their spend. And again, we're going to look at, I'm not going to talk through these with you today, but we're going to really delve into this more on the 9th. So it'd be really great for you to come with your thoughts and your experiences to our session. So thank you for your time. Really just wanted to set that scene. We'll go into the 7 in much more detail on the 9th. So today was really just to sort of whet your appetite and to make sure that you register and join Jane and myself. No program, of course, is not right without you having the right partner. And we at Optum believe we are a great partner for multinational organisations like yourself. And you know, we provide a breadth of services from EAP into wellness. And again, you know, if we can help you further, please do let us know. Thank you so much for your time. Really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible on the 9th of November and to really delve into these numbers even more. In the meantime, take care, stay safe.